When we drop into this place of authenticity, there is a spaciousness that allows the deep soulful self to rise. If they generate this spaciousness and we allow this true self to start to surface, the things that you ask for, the things that you speak into can be heard. That the whole of creation is a giant celebration. It's evolving, it's birthing. And so we could equate that to this giant yes that is happening. Hello, and welcome to another broadcast of The Art of Awakening. It is always a joy to be with you, and always a deep and rich moment that we get to share. And today I get to share with you a very dear, dear friend of mine. What we're going to do is drop into a rich conversation with my beloved friend, Marci Shimoff. And I'm going to tell you just a few things about Marci before we get started, and then we get to dive into some fun conversation. All right, so Marci Shimoff is a #1 New York Times bestselling author, a world-renowned transformational teacher, and an expert on happiness, success, and unconditional love. Marci's books include runaway bestsellers, Happy for No Reason, Love for No Reason, and 6 titles in the phenomenally successful Chicken Soup for the Women's Soul series. So we're going to hear a little bit about those kinds of things. Her books have sold, get this, over more than 16 million copies worldwide in 33 languages, have topped all the major bestseller lists, have been on the New York Times bestseller list for over a total of 121 weeks. Marci's one of the best-selling female nonfiction authors of all time. She is also the host of the national PBS television special called Happy for No Reason, and is a featured teacher in the movie The Secret, and is the narrator of the award-winning film Happy. Just to say the least, she's plugged in, okay? She also currently co-leads a worldwide program called Your Year of Miracles with thousands of participants from 87 countries for living a life of miracles, which I get to play with her in. It is a great joy to bring to you, Marci, who has inspired millions of people around the world and is dedicated to helping people live more miraculous, empowered, and joy-filled lives. Marci, hello, welcome. I'm so thrilled that you're here.
Well, it's always a blast to get to be with you, Sue. We always have great conversation, and I am looking forward to this.
Absolutely. Me too. Always, always. Nothing better, right? So, I'd love to just say, first of all, that beyond all of the accolades that are to be given regarding your accomplishments and the things that you've done in the world, you have been a very dear friend to me in so many ways. And I want to thank you for all of your time and effort that you have put into helping to steward the energy codes out into the world with me, and for bringing my work out into the world in the ways that you have. You're so gifted in this way of serving and helping others, and I know that it's a joy for you to do so, but I do want you to know how much I appreciate. I want the world to know how much I
Oh,
appreciate that as
thank
well.
you, Sue.
Yeah.
And I have to say, it has been a joy to do it. And the only reason that I do this is because I believe so much in what you do, in who you are, and in the brilliance and gifts that you have for the world. So it's like I feel like it's a great. I love seeing you out in the world in the most magnificent ways. So everybody who's here watching Dr. Sue, you are in the right place because you are a wise being, because Dr. Sue's really got it. And Sue, I one of the things that I love is that we actually met in the context of awakening. And we
Yeah.
met with both of us with this commitment to awakening in our lives. And here you are with the art of awakening. And I love it. I love what
Yes,
you're doing.
absolutely. It's so interesting because here we are on an Art of Awakening podcast where we're drawing forward all the various ways that people awaken in their lives and what they awaken to and what it is that awakening even means. And we're here in this conversation. We met in our own process of doing so, 20 some years ago, 20, maybe closer to 30 years ago. And And as such, we get it. We get what it takes. We get that it's not easy. We get that we stumble and we flounder a bit, and that we get back up and we lean in and we just stay devoted to what it takes to lay down the ego, lay down the protective personality, dissolve it into something more meaningful, something rich and beautiful in life that's trying to surface out from our layers of, compensation that we've developed in order to survive and to get by. And how beautiful that we get to share with others the wisdoms that we have come across, just to make their path easier, to make their life flow with grace sooner. And you certainly you've been there, right? You've been in it for a long time, and you've talked with lots and lots of people. You've taught lots and lots of people. You are in the flow of waking into a life mostly regarding finding their happiness and their miraculous ways of living. What can you share with us about your journey that has been maybe the most significant in terms of you putting the pieces together and guiding your life in such authentic ways?
Mm. Well, I was actually thinking about this just yesterday, that I was a seeker from the get-go. I feel like I came into this life knowing, having that sense that there is more, that what kind of most people are consumed with in life is not where the juice of life really is. And I was depressed when I was a kid, because I would see what most people were doing and thinking, this is not that meaningful. And I remember asking my parents about God, and they did their best, but I was not satisfying. And I'm just going to tell you a weird esoteric story. I rarely tell this story, and I don't think you even know this, Sue. But one day I was in the eighth grade, and I told my mom that I didn't want to go to school that day. And I'd never done that before. So she let me stay home. And I stayed home. I remember sitting in their bed, my parents' bedroom, because they had a TV in their bedroom, and I turned on the TV, and it went on to a channel that we never got. It was some UHF channel that we never got. And on there was the Phil Donahue show, and it was back in the early 70s. And there was an Indian man in a robe, a white robe, sitting on a couch, speaking about the meaning of life. And I burst into tears. I'm like, oh my God, this is what I have been looking for in my life. There is this understanding of more. And I didn't get that there was a technique he was teaching. His name was Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, and he was the founder of transcendental meditation. But I didn't get that he was teaching a technique. I got that he'd written a book called The Science of Being and Art of Living. And I wrote down the title. When the show was over, I called the libraries in San Mateo, California, where I grew up, and all the bookstores. Nobody had heard of the book. And that was it. I put that little piece of paper away in a drawer, and got ended up in the back of a drawer that I found years later. But I knew in my heart, oh, there is more to life. And then 3 years later, I saw a poster as I was walking through downtown San Mateo, and it said, "Life is here to enjoy." And it was a picture of him. And I went to that lecture, and I learned to meditate then, and I ended up becoming a teacher of meditation. And that really started my journey. And I find that we all start our journeys in such unique and different ways, you know? And for me, that was really learning to meditate and going inward, and listening to the true voice, not the voice of the ego or protective personality, but the voice of the soul that that has led me forward in my life. That has been so for me, the 2 most important things that have happened for me have been really starting that inward journey, and then really listening to where to go, what to do next, as my GPS, as my guiding sign, rather than listening to what, my parents thought I should do or other people thought was wise.
What can you recommend to people that have a challenging time finding the voice, much less trusting it, but people who would say, I don't have I don't get that. I don't get something inside telling me what to do. Or I listen for a voice. I don't hear any words. I try to do things that are trusting,
Yeah.
and they just feel like they're kind of flying in the dark.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you can offer up to those people who are like looking for the voice? Yeah, find the
Yeah.
voice. Not
Yeah,
hearing it.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, well, first of all, don't expect it to be a booming most of us think, "Oh, it's gonna be this booming male voice that's gonna come
Right.
and tell you, 'Turn right, turn left, do this, do that.'" And,
Yeah.
some people, most people, I don't think, hear it quite like that. I don't hear a voice.
Yeah.
I feel. I'm a kinesthetic. I think we think that, there's auditories, there's visuals, they see all these images. I don't see things. I think you're probably more of a I don't know, are you a visual? Are you or a kinesthetic or do you hear, Sue?
Yes, it's weird. It's different for different times, it's different things that show up for me.
So I think it's look for, don't look for it in a way that you
Yeah.
that you think it's gonna come. For me, it's a feel here. It's a like a
Mhm.
it's like a yes, no kind of inner thing. And what I say to people is just start with small things. And
Yeah.
I think people actually do feel it more than they think they do. It's
Mhm.
just that they don't have the courage to listen to it. So
Yeah.
people say, "Well, I don't really know." Yeah, you kind of do. I'm gonna guess, just try it out. Try a little bit and be willing to say no. Be willing to do the scary things. I mean, I did weird things. I went to college at a college where everyone meditated. This was back in the mid 70s. This was not normal. My parents were kind of like, "What are you doing?" I don't know. They gave me one. They said, "We're gonna give." It was in Iowa where I was in California. They thought, "Oh, she's never gonna last there." So they just sort of gave me a, "Okay, go try it for a quarter." And I loved it. It was a yes for me. So be
Mhm.
willing to be brave, to do things that aren't necessarily the traditional and maybe test it out in small ways. And I can't hear that voice if I don't take the time to get quiet. So that
Mhm.
is a real key. You got to take some time to get quiet inside and train yourself to listen.
Mhm. Especially if we ruminate on things, or we're rehashing things in our mind all the time, or projecting ourselves out in the future all the time and constantly trying to pre-plan and predict, and all of that is the noise that you're saying has to stop in order for us to feel, sense, hear, what have you, be in touch with this deeper truth that's trying to rise. When the mind is so active and just chewing on something all the time, it doesn't allow for this essence to surface up through in between the thoughts. And so, some people will say, well, I can't meditate. I try to meditate. I sit down and immediately I just start making my to-do list. I just start getting on why I should be doing so many things other than sitting here doing nothing. And we really want everyone to understand that it doesn't mean that you have to sit and meditate, but to slow down your breath, to just pay attention to what's here in front of you, to look out the window and really appreciate what you're seeing in a tree branch or a flower that's blooming, and to really bond or connect in that way. It stills the mind. So, I know that you, Marci, speak a lot about happiness and bringing people into, a deeper joy and a presence. Now, how can you equate this inner voice, this inner knowing that we're trying to trust, and experiencing happiness? Like, which comes first? Is it that we are happy and then we feel the presence of choosing right in our lives and aligning? Is it that we're choosing right in our lives and aligning and then we experience happiness? This is
Mm.
a chicken or the egg kind of
It
question.
is a chicken or the egg, and it's both. The answer is both and.
Yes,
The
right.
answer
The
is
answer is
both and.
yes.
By the way, I will totally answer that, but I wanna go back for just a moment because you said something that made me think about, a teacher that we both have appreciated, a woman we both appreciated in our lives, a woman named Angeles Arian. When you talk about how it's hard for people to get quiet and listen and hear that voice, Angeles Arian, who is a great cultural anthropologist, she said that throughout all indigenous cultures, that there were ways to connect in with that voice. There were medicines there, and she they would call the four medicines, and they were to to spend time in to spend time every day in some kind of form of of expressing yourself, speaking truth. So the voice, and one of the ways was also through movement, through dance, through moving. Another way was through laughter, through joy. And then the final way of the final medicine was through
Mhm,
silence.
mhm,
And so to
mm.
spend a little time each day with each of those movement, silence, joy, laughter, and speaking your voice. And I know that for some people that quiet comes from nature, comes from being in nature. Angelus also used to say that nature's rhythm was the rhythm of medium to slow, medium to slow, medium to slow. Now, I didn't know medium to slow in my life before, you know, I, mine's fast, 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 and fast. And
Oh,
that pace,
mhm.
we need some spaciousness for medium to slow. So I just wanted to bring that in as another way to nurture that the ability to hear that direction and voice. So I,
I know, it's very interesting because oftentimes when I'm teaching, I'll break into this sort of channeling thing that happens, that just information is just coming. And when years ago, when it first started happening, I would talk so rapidly. People would joke about, it was like for that commercial where the Bose, I think it was commercial where the guy's hair is just blowing back because it's like, whoa, we just got hit with something there. And it was like a fire hose. And I couldn't slow it down because it was this high frequency energy that was just coming through. And as I began to embody the information, I began to live toward what I was hearing come through me. It started to slow, and when it started to slow, people started to get what I was saying more, and then it would drop into an even deeper, more rich, imbued in love type of space, and people started opening and healing in rapid fire, and and so I guess I shouldn't use the analogy of rapid fire when we're talking about slowing down in love, but they were responding much more profoundly, and I know that it's because of the spaciousness that's being allowed for. Now I know that you take retreat in Hawaii often, and I know that you say that it's your space. It's the place where you get to feel the whole of you, and that spaciousness has served you so well. I notice that it allows for the very thing I think that you're speaking about to shine through in amazing ways, and evolves us in ways that nothing else can do. So so do you dance when you're on the beach? Do you like do you do some
I
other fun
move, I
things?
move.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the more I move my body, the more joy I feel and the more
Mhm.
spaciousness I feel. I love
Yeah.
the word spacious. I
Yeah.
think it's a great, great word. And Sue, I love that you said that thing about, as I remember in the early days when all of the words would come through so fast,
Yeah.
and now they are there is that spaciousness, and it's really a transmission because it's an
Yeah.
energy. I'm telling you, everything is energy. Oh, I'm telling Dr. Sue Morter that everything is energy, but it really,
But it's
really
true.
is. And that spaciousness, it feels so good to
Yeah.
be in. And when you're in, I experience when you speak from this place that it's the energy of it, it's the transmission of it that lands and
Yeah.
people feel.
You know,
So
and that's what we want everyone to know, right? That
yeah.
it's their come from that's going to make a difference in their lives. It's their if they generate this spaciousness and we allow this true self to start to surface, the things that you ask for, the things that you speak into can be heard when you're truly connected in with the essential self. When you want to start a project, or you want to ask your spouse to do things differently, or you want to connect with your children in a way that just hasn't been happening for quite some time, or whatever it is that you're dreaming up for yourself as a career or what have you, that when we drop into this place of authenticity, there is a spaciousness that allows the deep soulful self to rise. And when that happens, we connect in the world in an entirely different way. Things manifest. People agree. People want to participate. They want to come along, and they want to lean in. And that is something that I've witnessed so much, Marci, with the things that you do when you take the time, you pull people aside, you connect with them, and that spaciousness opens up for them, and they get to have a connection with their own true authentic self, which then has inspired so many people to pursue their careers, to believe in themselves, to move out into the world in a new way, in a profound way. And it's one of the greatest gifts that I think that we can offer people. And I thank you so much for being a representative of that in this world in the beautiful, beautiful way that you do.
Mm,
So people get to
thank
find their own
you.
happiness under those conditions. Yep, you were going to
Yeah.
say something. Yeah.
Well, I was gonna, go back to that question you asked me like 5 minutes ago.
Oh, yeah, that.
These are the kind of conversations that go
Mm.
all over, which
We
is
like the meandering
each
conversation.
to each of the
That's what
most
life
fun.
really is. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So so this thing about happiness, I started researching and speaking about happiness because I had done all the things in life that I thought would make me happy, and including, writing best-selling books and doing all these things that most people in life think, okay, you have those things and then you'll be happy. And I found myself still with that empty kind of that yearning for more in life that I had had as a kid, despite all the successes. And I realized I can't fool myself into thinking that just one more success is going to bring me what I really want. Most people, we go for happiness. I mean, we go for success because we think it's going to make us happy. And all we have to do is look outside and look at people who have a lot of success, a lot of money, a lot of fame, and some of them are the most miserable people around. So that's not the key. So anyway, I found myself at the top of the success pile and feeling like, this isn't it. So I decided to really dive deeply into what makes people happy. And I found that, I most people are going after what I call happy for good reason. Happy because I'll be happy when I get the right partner. I'll be happy when I have the right house. I'll be happy when I have the right career. I'll be happy, whatever, when I lose 20 pounds, all of that. And you will be happier for a short period of time, but it won't bring you the thing that you really want. And so, what we really want is what I call happy for no reason, which is an inner state of peace and well being that doesn't depend on our circumstances. And that's the real happiness. And, you know, I actually think it's a more pedestrian term for awakening. It's a more sort of commonly accepted term, perhaps, for
Mm,
awakening. But people who really have an inner state of peace and well being, regardless of the circumstances, are living in a, that greater state of truth,
mm,
bliss, love, peace. So that's really, really what I mean. And this idea of spaciousness and silence is one of the ways to have that feeling of happy for no reason, that space of happy
mm.
for no reason.
Scientifically, that science has shown us that really creation is a celebration, that the whole of creation is a giant celebration. It's evolving, it's birthing, it's emerging constantly. And so we could equate that to, this giant yes that is happening. And and the more we allow ourselves to participate in that yes, the more we're going to feel our true nature because we're made of that same essence that is this creation that is constantly expanding. And so when we're in our yes, we are in our true state, our true nature, and and because we're made of that same essence, what would be found and discovered inside of us is a celebration in which joy and happiness would be an experience if we drop in and allow ourselves to experience what is truly trying to unfold in us. I say all of that in an attempt to share with everyone that this is your true nature. It's by divine design that happiness would be present if you let it. That that it's an overuse of the mind or an over trying or an over connection with the idea that I'm not enough, that something else needs to happen, that something needs to change or something needs to be different, that suppresses this happiness that is right there waiting to emerge. It's waiting to come up and out. And as we align with the greatest power on earth, which is the power of creation itself, right? The more we get to have that support of this immense, tremendous energy that is a yes, that is a joy, that is an emerging presence of the divine. And as such, we experience a joyful life if we let ourselves be authentic, if we let the vulnerabilities, if we let the true self to shine through. What happens is we connect with the greatest power that we could possibly imagine, which is actually supportive of our happiness, believe it or not. It's not something you have to go out and get. It's right inside. It's truly here. And and that's what you're sharing here, Marci, is that it's, when we can allow it for no reason at all to just be, then we actually get to perceive and experience our true nature at its greatest.
Yeah, and, it reminds me of the Rumi quote that I don't remember exactly, but it's close enough. It's a Rumi quote that love, is our nature, and that our only job in life is not to seek for love, but to find the barriers that stand between us and experiencing that.
Mm. Mhm.
And that's really what it is. It's all the overlays, from our true nature. And
Yeah.
and as I interviewed now, I started with 100 unconditionally happy people, I call them. These were people that just were happy, not because of something. And it didn't mean that they didn't have periods of sadness or frustration, but that there was an underlying state of peace and well-being with those things. So,
Mm.
people think happy for no reason. Does this mean that I'm walking around 24/7 with a silly grin on my face? No, it means that you've got this inner state of peace and well-being where you carry it with you no matter what. If someone dies, you may still feel grief, but it coexists with that sense of all is well in the universe. So it's not that those things aren't on the surface, but there's an underlying piece of happiness. And I started to tell the story about the 100 the unconditionally happy people that I met, and I forgot why. Um,
Well,
mm.
the idea that people are recognizing that it isn't something that we go and get, and that it is just something that emerges and that is there, and the fact that we can experience. I think happiness kind of gets a bad rap sometimes because people will say, "Well, I can't be happy all the time." And what you're really claiming is that there is a deep joy within, and our job is to let it have its way and to not interfere with it. And if we come up against something that generates deep grief or scares us in a big way, something changes unexpectedly in our lives, and all of a sudden we're having to manage things in a different way, and we don't know how we're going to do it. Those kinds of things come and go, of course. But if we have an alignment with our true authentic self, we have an alignment with the universe, we have an alignment with the whole of creation, and we know that that is holding the space for the grief that is appropriate, and that deep well-being, that sense of well-being is holding the space while we figure out what we're going to do differently in our lives regarding XYZ. That there's something underneath it all that is of goodness, is of well-being, that can hold the space for even great joy that I'm allowing myself to feel what is authentic, joy that I'm able to recognize the things that are not working for me. There's a happiness inside of that, even if we're realizing we have to completely reconstruct our lives in some way. We can be happy that we're recognizing it. We can be happy and joyful that we're in touch with what needs to shift or what it's time to allow in our lives to be different, even if it's not happening yet. And so I think we're talking about this disposition back here in the background that is the sense of well-being, and and that expresses as a sense of happiness. And it also expresses as a place where one can rest even when things are, in the turbulence and the tumultuousness of life these days. Yeah.
And that's, by the way, that thank you, because that was what I wanted to say when I interviewed all these unconditionally happy people. It wasn't their circumstances. There were, their circumstances were all over the place, different levels of wealth, different levels of health, different levels of every relationship.
Mm,
But there was this underlying feeling of peace and well-being around them, that they
mm,
were loving what is with life. That life was just this beautiful expression, and it was that they were identifying, with, to use your terminology, the soulful self, that they knew that to be the truth of who they were
mm.
rather than the protective personality. And of
Yeah.
all the distinctions that I found in people who are happy, that is the primary distinction, is that they know the truth of the soulful self.
You've worked with so many people along these lines. What about when someone is recognizing, wow, I guess I've actually been over trying or over giving or overdoing in my life, and now I want to pursue my own happiness. I want to prioritize myself in a new way, and they don't know how to go about doing that by, in terms of rearranging how they behave in the world, letting people know that they're not going to be doing this or that or the other, because they're recognizing they need to readjust or realign in some way. What can you offer as guidance to people that feel selfish, they feel self-centered, they feel like it can't just be about me, kind of thing, just to kind of orient people to permission granted to pursue their own happiness?
So what I've found is that most people who are attracted to this conversation, tend to be sensitive people who are empaths. And as sensitive people who are empaths, we our attention tends to go outside. How can I help? How can I take care of somebody else? And often we end up running a little bit on empty. And we think it may, and a society teaches us maybe it's selfish to take care of yourself. I have really found that the best thing that you can do for everybody on the planet is to take care of yourself first. It just works. And the reason it works is that, we're all emitting chemicals into the atmosphere all day long, and and it's contagious. People pick up on it. The best contribution you can make on this planet is to be vibrating at a higher level of truth and love. That is your biggest contribution. And the way that you get there is by taking care of what it is you need to take care of within you first. You
Mm,
running ragged, you running on empty is not a blessing for anybody.
mm,
And I have a saying that I love, and that is when you take care of yourself, you take care of everybody else.
mm.
And that means learning to say a sacred no when it's a no. Really. And there have been times when I've said no to things that you go, that was how could she say I turned down a $500,000 contract to go speak in China because it just felt like no, that was a no. And out of that no created the spaciousness for the creation of the program Year of Miracles. The
Yeah.
following week after I'd said that sacred no, the next week
Mm.
this idea came. And so what I really know from my own experience and from seeing so many other people is that when we take care of this light inside, we take care of the world. There's a quote that I know you've heard me say a million times, Sue, but I just have to share it because
Yeah.
I think it really summarizes this idea. It's a Chinese proverb. And it goes like this. It says, when there is light in the soul, there will be beauty in the person. When there is beauty in the person, there will be harmony in the house. When there is harmony in the house, there will be order in the nation. And when there is order in the nation, there will be peace in this world. And
Mhm.
so I absolutely believe it starts with the light within. And that, this is what we're This is what you are here on the planet doing. This is what I'm here on the planet doing. This is what anybody who's attracted to this conversation here right now knows about this light inside. And through us bringing this light into our own lives, we bring it to the planet. And boy, oh boy, the planet needs it these days.
I was gonna say, can we imagine what would be happening right now in our world if everyone was following, that line of thinking and living that into existence, I please do imagine that, everyone, exactly what the world
Yes.
would be like if we were all, aligned in such a magnificent way. That's the through line. It starts within, and it comes all the way out to the surface of life, and it expands all the way into the whole of humanity, through your home, through your relationships, into your communities and into the world at large. Wow, absolutely. This is what we're interested in.
And
So,
I have to say the other thing that has been so primary in my world, and that is who you hang out with, who you spend your life energy and life force with makes a lot of difference. Any parent will say that they care who their teenagers hang out with because we're influenced by the people around us. They say the science says that we catch the emotions of the people around us like we catch someone's cold. And
mm,
so primary in my world and in my journey has been who I've gotten to hang out with. And so you're so much one of those people that
uh,
when we're together, this is the conversation. I mean, we actually this is what we do. We hang out and eat popcorn and talk about this stuff
I
because
know.
this is what matters.
It's yeah,
We also
it
talk
is.
about massages or whatever as well. We like the finer things in life.
Right, right, all the most important priorities.
That's
First
right.
things first. Where's the best
Puppies.
massage?
That's right. But it's
Yeah.
this so really, he if I were to say, one of the things I would say to people is find yourself in community of people who are having this kind of conversation and on this kind of journey.
Mhm,
Listen to this podcast regularly because this is what is speaking truth matters.
mm,
Listening to truth matters.
yeah. Beautiful. So, before we wrap up, Marcia, I could just go on forever. But I would just want to know if there's anything regarding your latest work or anything that is up for you regarding happiness, how people can plug in with really pursuing more about happy for no reason.
Yeah. So when I studied happiness, I found that the biggest difference between happy people and everybody else is that they have different habits. And I found there were 21 main habits that people could look to raise what's called your happiness set point. And so I that's what I've taught and really it is how to find more unconditional love, joy, awakening, all of that. So what I do now is I'm training people happy for no reason certified trainers to teach these
Mm,
21 happiness habits and to teach
mm,
people how to become happier. So that's the
mhm.
thing that I'm most excited about in my happiness world.
So
And
you're teaching other people how to teach other people
that's right.
how to
I'm teaching
find greater happiness. You're teaching
happiness.
teachers.
I'm teaching
Fabulous.
coaches.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
teaching people who maybe didn't have any idea that this is what they wanted to do. The best way you can raise your own happiness set point is by teaching others. So
Absolutely.
anyone who feels like, wow, what a cool thing. I would love to teach happiness. I'm teaching you this very simple system to share with people, kids, senior citizens,
Beautiful.
anywhere you want to go,
Yeah.
businesses, how to teach
Beautiful,
happiness. So they
beautiful.
can find out about that at
Yeah.
happyforno.com.
I remember in my clinic, I would, if I was having a rough day, I'd get up in the morning, and if for some reason something was going on in my life that wasn't so great, um, I would go to the clinic, and as soon as I would start treating people and being with them and being in service to them, I would notice that I felt completely different about myself and life, and the energies that were just passing through my system were on fire and ignited because I was in service to others. And so I can definitely say that one of the best things someone can do is learn how to be in service to others. And if you already are a coach or something along those lines, then to become acclimated toward a specific conversation about people finding their happiness, finding this deep space that we're speaking about, would be one of the best things that you could possibly do in terms of refining your service to others. And if you've not been a coach or even, been in the world of service to others, I know how powerful that is. I am so grateful in my life that I was born into a family, into a situation, circumstances where I witnessed my father being in service to others and my mother being in service to the same. And it developed something in me that has truly been a great, great gift in my life. And so I'm thrilled, Marci, that you're offering trainings to people to be in service to others, because I know what happens to the one who's serving when they're busy
Yeah.
serving someone else. It's a win-win for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, how beautiful. How beautiful. So, Marci, where can people find you, if they
They
would
can
like to
go
plug into this?
Yeah, so they can go to happyfornoreason.com, and also there on Happy for No Reason, there's a Happy for No Reason workbook. It's my gift to everybody here. It's got all 21 of the happiness habits and a practice that goes with each one, and it's got an assessment where how you can see where you are on the Happy for No Reason scale or continuum. So that is my gift to everybody here as well. So happyfornoreason.com.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Well, Marci, thank you so much for taking time to be with us today. I know you're a very busy woman, and thank you to all of our listeners for plugging in today. And we so look forward to being able to connect again at some point, Marci. I'm going to have you back in at some
Yes.
point and share your wisdoms. I know that we do a program called Your Year of Miracles together every year, and so we'll have you back when it's time to talk
Oh,
about
goody.
miracles. How about that?
Love it. Anytime we get to talk. Massage,
Yeah.
puppies,
Yes.
awakening, any of
All
that.
the important
All of the
things.
great things.
Okay. Beautiful. So, so we're gonna wrap it up here today, folks. Thank you so much for being here. This has been a wonderful episode of The Art of Awakening, and I look forward to sharing our next time with you soon. Blessings to you all. Bye-bye for now.